thank all the submitters who submitted documents under this agenda item. Generally, we support the proposals as appears in different proposals. As for document PPR-879 submitted by IX, this delegation would like to thank IX for raising a very good question, namely the definition of new ships and existing ships. This delegation fully supports the understanding that appears in the document on new ships and existing ships. We also support the recommendations of amendment to relevant provisions. As for the newly made provisions to be applicable to new ships or existing ships, this delegation agrees to consider the readjustment of the application scope of relevant provisions after the discussion in the plenary of this subcommittee. As for the document by CLEAR, PPR-8712, we thank CLEAR for the comments therein in the document. In terms of turbidity, CLEAR questions whether turbidity could be used as an indicator. We have similar feelings. We took note that in order to obtain type approval certificate for their STPs, the testing has shown that the STPs have satisfied the TSS standard. And the turbidity is closely related to the TSS. There is no strong necessity to add turbidity as one of the parameters to test STPs. I think turbidity could be used a self-indicative testing parameter for ships' daily operation. This delegation also supports PPR-878 submitted by India, Japan, and others. With support to re-establish the correspondence group to carry out further work. We also support to expand the finishing date of this agenda item to 2022. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, China. Now we have Croatia, Australia, and Poland. Croatia, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all distinguished delegates. We thank all submitters for their documents submitted under this agenda item. We would also like to express our appreciation towards the re-establishment agenda item. /J/ to 20
now.
Thank you, Chair, for the floor. Good day to everyone, and thank you to the submitters of all documents under this agenda item. In relation to document PPR-87, Australia would like to thank Norway for their efforts and commitment in coordinating this correspondence group, as well as the participants for their contributions to this important work. As Finland pointed out, the group has made good progress to date. However, there is much work to do. and therefore we welcome your proposal, Chair, to re-establish the correspondence group. In relation to document PPR-873 from China, Australia would like to align with the views put forward by Norway on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Now, Poland, India, and Peru. Poland, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good day to all distinguished delegates. Let me express appreciation to Norway for coordinating the correspondence group and to all who contributed to the work, as well as to all submitters of the documents under this agenda item. We can generally support the outcome of the intersessional work as presented in PPR-8/7, which we believe should be the basis for further work. From our side, only one main additional comment. Since no working group has been established at this session, then we would certainly support continuation of the work by means of the re-established correspondence group, starting its work as soon as possible. And we support the provisional terms of reference proposed by you, Mr. Chair, in PPR-8J4. We are also ready to align with those requesting for the extension of the target completion year. Thank you very much.
Mexico. India, please, you have the floor.
Greetings to all correspondence group for the hard work that they have put on the page. /, that's sewage treatment plants, operational aspects, and performance needs to be addressed. Our experience shows that if existing sewage treatment plants are maintained, inspected, and operated correctly as per the maker's recommendations, the plants perform efficiently and in compliance with MARPOL Annex 4 discharge standard. This sufficiently aligns with the information provided in PPR 8/7/4 by Islamic Republic of Iran. We thank Islamic Republic of Iran for their submission and sharing the results of the survey carried out. Their results showed the root cause of sewage treatment plant malfunction are poor maintenance and lack of crew familiarity with correct way to operate and maintain such plants. Replacement of plants on existing ships will not solve the problem. We would suggest that emphasis should be on three things. Number one, regular maintenance. Number two, following correct operating procedure of manufacturers. And number three, training of crew in correct way of maintaining and operation of treatment plants. The sewage record book will be helpful here, and we also believe that introduction of periodical surveys under MARPOL Annex 4 will ensure that existing plants fulfill their purpose. India does not support replacing sewage treatment plants on existing ships, nor applying stricter discharge standards than what they were certified for, as there is no compelling need. With respect to PPR 8/7/9 by IX, we understand the good intent of the paper, but consider it little premature for consideration presently until the scope of application of amended regulations are agreed to. Sir, with respect to the proposed terms of reference of the correspondence to be established that most of the delegates here have supported that proposal to re-establish the correspondence group. So with respect to the proposal given in J4, we would suggest inclusion of operational maintenance and familiarization of seafarers as one of the agenda items to be looked into, sub-agenda items. Now, going on to the other papers, with respect to the correspondence group report, we align ourselves with all those who have suggested re-establishment of the group and requesting MEPC 75 to extend the completion date of the work to 2023. With respect to PPR 8/7/1 by China, we agree with proposal of China regarding handling of overflows from sewage treatment plants, and the same may be taken into account by the correspondence group. With respect to PPR 8/7/3 by China, we fully share concern of China regarding possible increase in crew workload to comply with various proposed new regulations relating to MARPOL Annex 4. The crew workload is already extremely high for safe ship operation. We need to ensure administrative burden is not increased further. We urge the subcommittee to find a balance between environment protection and crew workloads. So one of the sub-bullet point relates with guidance on developing sewage management plan and sewage record book. Somewhere if we can capture this particular item regarding bearing in mind the crew workload. With respect to finally on PPR 8/7/5 by Norway, we agree to their proposal of introducing robust type approval procedure and commissioning testing. Thank you, sir, for the patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, India. Now I have the cards of Peru, Mexico, and the Netherlands. Peru, please, you have the floor now.
¿Escucha, señor presidente?
Yes, I am hearing you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Chair. The delegation of Peru was a participant in the correspondence group, and we would like to thank the coordinator, Andrea from Norway, and all of those who met the mandate and all the work that we were assigned. Now, on the documents that have been submitted and what has been said by the delegation of Norway the last time they spoke, we do need to take into account the very important work of the members of the correspondence group and all their delegations, so that we can look at everything that has been considered and make sure that we can be more proactive as well on the work that has to be done. We would also like to thank everybody for what they have submitted in under 8.7, all of which will significantly improve the technological norms for discharge of sewage as well. And we do need to adopt these guidelines and make sure that everything is made more effective. And we do support the re-establishment of the correspondence group so that it can carry on its work. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Peru. Now we have Mexico, the Netherlands, and Panama. Mexico, please, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Distinguidos delegados, trataré de ser breve en aras del corto tiempo que tenemos. Mi delegación agradece y reconoce la importante labor que vienen realizando los miembros del grupo de trabajo por correspondencia y en particular a Noruega por su labor de coordinación. Al tiempo que respaldamos que
I'd particularly like to thank Norway for its coordinating rule. We do think that the group should be re-established as is mentioned under 8.7. We've seen all the documents that have been submitted, and as we can see from these documents, there's still an awful lot of work to be carried out. We would therefore like to thank the authors of all of the documents that have been submitted under this agenda item, and in particular, we agree with what is in the documents put forward by China, that is 871, 872, and 873, and also the document submitted by the Islamic Republic of Iran, 874, and we echo the recommendations and comments that have been made in these documents. We also support 8712. We feel that the comments made by CLEAR on the administrative burden is very important as well. Chair, this delegation feels that in general, all the documents do need to be submitted to the correspondence group, which should be re-established. And we also agree that we should be extending the deadline to 2023. So to summarize, we support document J4. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mexico. Then we have the Netherlands, Panama, and the UK. Netherlands, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you for my second attempt to speak, and good morning to everybody, and good afternoon and good evening to everybody. We would like to thank the correspondence group, and especially Norway, for the extensive work done. The Netherlands, and more recently, the China and Iran presented the results of sewage effluent sampling. As the results of the sampling all are pointing in the same direction. The effluent does usually not meet the IMO standards. Sewage treatment plants' performance on board should be improved, and a mix of measures is needed. The aim is not to have a more ambitious goal, but just to comply with the current standards. The proposed amendments in the report of the correspondence group for MARPOL Annex 4 are a good way forward. The work is not finalized yet. For example, the potential side effects on the use of commuting and disinfecting systems should be taken into account. Also very important is the scope of application of the draft amendments to new and existing ships. Costs for existing ships should be proportional, and therefore those ships shouldn't be required to retrofit equipment. We support the document of CLEAR on this issue. Furthermore, we recognize that the number of persons on board the ship is a relevant parameter for the volume of sewage production and the potential pressure on the marine environment. A threshold for existing ships on the basis of the number of persons a ship is certified to carry could be an option which takes into account that aspect. Consequently, existing ships certified to carry less persons than the threshold could have less stringent requirements than other existing ships. This option could be considered in more depth in the correspondence group. We support the proposed terms of reference for the correspondence group, but align with Canada to include document PPR-8/7/7 on commuting and disinfecting systems. Finally, we align with Denmark on the possibility to have virtual meetings complementary to the correspondence group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, the Netherlands. Now we have Panama, UK, Pacific Environment. Panama, please, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor. Thank you very much, Chair, and good day to all. Chair, first of all, I would like to thank the distinguished delegation of Norway for having submitted the report on the progress made by the correspondence group. We think that the correspondence group has made considerable progress. However, there are still key points that still need to be discussed, which are important, such as type approval for sewage treatment plants and the yield. Therefore, we do think that we should be re-establishing the correspondence group so they can carry on with their work. Now, one aspect that we do think that we should carry on looking at in very close detail in that group would be the scope of application of the draft amendments to new and existing ships. And we should pay special attention to existing ships which could be prejudiced because of what we have under Annex 2. So we do think we ought to be taking into account 878 in future delegations, and we support the comments made by Japan in their presentation. Now, on 873, we would like to thank China for having presented that document. which we support. We are aware that the introduction of e-record books would reduce the burden of work on sewage treatment treatments on board. And then, of course, we are aware of the effects of the pandemic on all this, and we know that there is an awful lot to be done in the near future, and therefore we do need to think about such repercussions, in particular on the cruise ship sector, who have seen their business very, very badly affected by what has happened. So we support what China has suggested on postponing the introduction of this for cruise ships until the situation has returned to normal. And therefore we support 8, 7, 12 as well as presented by Clea, and we do think that we should be thinking about their point about treating sewage water before it is discharged. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Panama. Now I have United Kingdom, Pacific Environment, and Malaysia. United Kingdom, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom wishes to thank all submitted documents under this item. I'll highlight which paper I'm referring to as I go through. So regarding first 871, the UK supports considering the practicalities of sewage overflows and supports the sewage management plan, including requirements covering the management of overflows. However, we believe more discussion is needed before agreeing to the proposed amendments, as the resulting sewage mixture may contain other contaminants. Accordingly, at this time, we cannot support the proposals in this document. Then regarding 8/7/2, considering the testing protocol and analysis used in the reported study, the UK has some concern that this study may not be representative of a MARPOL compliant storage tank, and we note that only one effluent sample was used. Accordingly, the results may not be representative of the actual onboard conditions. Therefore, the UK supports the text as agreed by the correspondence group. With regards to 8/7/3, the UK is in agreement with much of this paper related to reducing crew burden and supports proposals for the use of electronic record books and investigating the cost impacts. However, we align with the earlier comments made by Norway, as we also believe it is too early to tell if the timeline for entry into force of the amendments being considered would have any compounding effect on the restart of the cruise industry. Regarding 8/7/4, the UK supports the introduction of mandated sample testing during the annual survey, as this would give a clear indication as to whether the installed equipment continues to meet the required standard. We also note the other prescriptive technical solutions proposed in this document, such as fitting of alarms and design features for sewage treatment plants. In this regard, the UK is of the opinion that the requirements should be more goal-based and remain technology neutral, with the focus on the quality of the effluent discharged, not how that is achieved. Accordingly, we do not support these technical solutions. With regards to 8/7/8, we support that any measures which may apply to existing ships must be proportionate and practical, and therefore we support the correspondence group considering this further. Like many others, we also support the extension of the target completion year. Finally, regarding 8/7/12, whilst we sympathise with the discussion put forward by Clea, we cannot support the narrative put forward in paragraph 9 of this document. The introduction of separate holding tanks was originally a UK proposal during the correspondence group. This was proposed to show transparency of the byproducts of sewage treatment plants, and that these are appropriately and effectively managed throughout the process. Without dedicated storage tanks, the UK is of the view that non-conformities to onboard type tests, commissioning tests, and performance tests could occur. Accordingly, we would want to see this discussion on inclusion of the provisions not be reopened. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, UK. Now we have a Pacific Environment, Malaysia and Argentina. Pacific Environment, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Thank you. Pacific Environment and the other co-sponsors of paper PPR-8/7/7 would like to thank the sponsors of all papers under this agenda item, and to especially thank Norway for their coordination of the correspondence group. We fully support the reestablishment of the correspondence group and would like to align ourselves with the comments of Sweden regarding considerations for the future work. Given the evidence of extensive non-compliance of sewage treatment plants, we would like to emphasize the urgency of this work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pacific Environment. Now, Malaysia, Argentina, and Italy. Malaysia, please, you have the floor.
Good day, sir. And we wish to thank the partners under the We support the press by China on the sewage treatment plant and the management systems, which includes its associated aerobic treatment components. We echo similar sentiments as expressed by IX on the need to be cautious on the application of regional approach, as the implications are far more far-reaching. We also believe that there is a need to have caution on the application on existing vessel equipment, as these will have far-reaching compliance issues, especially when dealing with legacy systems. The broad context on crew loading, as outlined by Norway, will be something which may need more consultation within the other IMO subcommittee, who's got the remit to deal with crew fatigue and training. Ideally, sir, design and practices will need to be better aligned so that issues on the upkeep do not cause sewage treatment plant discharge to be out of specification or not in compliance. We believe the wider obligation is on coastal health so that we will avoid another pandemic brewing and to cause further chaos. We can agree with the establishment of the correspondence group and further support this committee's method, which may include virtual means so that this work can progress ahead. We also wish to lend our support to the request of the extension of the target completion date. We see some wisdom in the proposal of Iran on their ways forward, and having coming from sea a far time back, the stigma with sewage treatment plants will be something very far-reaching. The survey is definitely an eye-opener and reveals the reality associated with STP and maintenances. We wish to express our gratitude to Norway for their leadership, and we look forward to working with them and other members in this correspondence group. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Malaysia. Now we have Argentina, Italy, and Germany. Argentina, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies for taking the floor again. There was an additional comment we had that skipped my mind. And as with regards to document 11 that was presented by WWF and that has other co-sponsors. And it's the question of procedure, Mr. Chair. Argentina is in favor of tightening the rules for discharge of sewage. The problem and the concern document 11 presents to us is that probably the co-sponsors are right that sensitive areas might require a particular treatment, but just a display of why the Antarctic Treaty area is sensitive is that it has its own rules, which is in particular the protocol to the environmental protocol to the Antarctic Treaty. That protocol has an Annex 4 that regulates exactly this matter. Mr. Chair, when negotiating the Polar Code at the IMO, all delegations and the IMO were very consistent in fluidly consulting the meeting, the consultative meeting of the Antarctic Treaty. So we don't believe, and we're not going into the merit of the proposal, but just as a procedure that we can proceed without that due consultation with the consultative meeting of the Antarctic Treaty in whatever relates to the Antarctic Treaty area. That was our additional comment, and thank you for the opportunity to make it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Argentina. We will talk on this subject in a few minutes. Thank you. Now I would like to have the card of Italy and Germany and Hong Kong. Italy, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and a good day to all. First of all, we'd like to thank all the submitters of this agenda item. Italy supports the reestablishment of the correspondence group to consider all the documents submitted under this agenda item. That's in the light of the technical importance of most submitted proposals and comments that often highlight well-founded concerns and acceptable positions, in any case worthy of adequate technical scrutiny. Furthermore, we also support that this subcommittee requests MEPC to extend the target completion year for the output to 2023. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Italy. Now we have Germany, Hong Kong, and Colombia. Germany, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Chair. This delegation would like to thank all submitters of documents under this agenda item, but explicitly Norway for the very efficient coordination of the correspondence of revising the convention and the associated guidelines at the same time was enormous. But thanks to the competent guidance of our coordinator, Andreas Garstein, we were able to achieve good progress together. The comprehensive report reflects very well the large number of comments that were received during the various rounds. They underline that the revision process was and is of greatest interest to a large number of member states and observers. This fact is also expressed by the amount of commenting submissions to this session. Germany will continue its commitment in the review process and is very much looking forward to further contribute to the work in the re-established correspondence group under the terms of reference set out in the Chair's proposal in document PPR-8/J/4. With regard to the further progress, we associate ourselves with the views previously expressed by the distinguished delegations of Denmark, Portugal, Sweden, France, and others. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Germany. We have now Hong Kong, Colombia, and Ecuador. Hong Kong, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Chairman. Good day, colleagues. First of all, I would like to join others to thank Norway for their hard work in coordinating the correspondence group and the contributions given by the members of the group. The report of the correspondence group lays a solid foundation for progressing the work, in particular in the areas of developing the amendment and the guidelines. Amongst the papers submitted, we would like to highlight the importance of taking a practical approach regarding the scope of application of the amendments of Annex 4 to existing ships. In this regard, I think the distinguished delegates from the Republic of India has given a very good description on the scope of application. Furthermore, we also support the views expressed by Korea and Japan in this regard. To finalize my comment, Chair, I also support, of course, the continuation of the work by the correspondence group and the extension of the target compression year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hong Kong, China. Now we have Colombia, Ecuador, and Saudi Arabia. Please, you have Colombia, you have the floor.
Muy buenos días, señor presidente, distinguido.
Thank you. I'm the master of the vessel Herman Leon. Happy to represent Colombia at the IMO. And I'm at your disposal to help with the work of the organization towards a sustainable sector and a sustainable planet. We'd like to thank the submitters of documents. It's important to continue with these efforts, considering the impact on our sector. We think it's important for the correspondence group to continue its work with the coordination of Norway. The document before us has a strategic vision. We need to ensure the effective functioning of STPs and indicate measures that need to be adopted to identify shortcomings and use measures which have been identified as effective. General measures mentioned by a number of countries can have an impact in particular areas. It's also worth considering the difference between new ships and existing vessels. We welcome documents 871 from China, 874 from Iran, and further documents that have identified how to keep moving forward with this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Colombia. Now we have Ecuador, Saudi Arabia, and Liberia. Ecuador, please, you have the floor now.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the distinguished delegation of Norway and their 87, which has been presented along with all of the other documents. We welcome the establishment of a correspondence group and align ourselves with the statement made by the distinguished delegation of Mexico. This subcommittee should also ask for an extension to the MEPC of 2023 as the date for completion. We'd like to welcome the representative of Colombia, Herman Leon, who has just spoken, and the IMO is very happy to welcome you to the plenary. Fantastic to see you, sir.
Thank you, Ecuador. Now we have Saudi Arabia, Liberia, and Chile. Saudi Arabia, please, you have the floor. I don't know if Saudi Arabia is there.
They've been accepted, but they don't appear to be
on the screen at the moment. If you want to move on, they can perhaps
Yes.
request the floor again. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Liberia, please, you have the floor now then. Liberia, please.
Chair, Liberia thanks all submitters of documents on this agenda item, and also thanks Norway for chairing the correspondence group. Mr. Chair, to be brief, in general, we support the re-establishment of the correspondence group as a co-sponsor of documents 878. Also, we support the extension of the target completion year to 2023. We can also support the forwarding of all documents on the agenda item to the re-established correspondence group to consider further in due time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Liberia. Now I am seeing the card of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, can you talk now? Yes, I don't know if Saudi Arabia is there. I think it's better to give the floor to them.
سوف أختصر في كلمة اليوم. يود وفد بلادي أن يشكر كل من شارك في تقديم الوثائق.
Thank you. We'll be brief. We'd like to thank everybody who's participated in contributing documents on sewage treatment plants. They contain very significant, important information, and particularly we welcome the information provided by China in its documents. It's necessary to review the rules being applied to the treatment of sewage because it has an impact on the marine environment, particularly in sensitive areas. However, there are still many details that remain to be discussed, and that's why my delegation wishes to defer the amendments of Annex 4 to 2023 for their completion. I would also like to see the correspondence group be re-established and resume its work. Thank you.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Then we have only now 2 cards. I am ready to make my summation, but I would like to have the comments of Chile. Please, you have the floor now.
Muchas gracias, señor.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all delegates. Thank you, Norway, for coordinating the work of the correspondence group. And thank you also to all of the authors of the documents presented under this item of the agenda. Now, we think that there are some very good proposals in those documents that the correspondence working group can analyze in its continuing work so that we can produce precise, clear and effective amendments to MARPOL Annex 4. This is an extremely sensitive issue of great importance for the preservation of the marine environment, and we welcome the work here. Would also like to align ourselves with the most recent statement by Argentina. Thank you.
Thank you, Chile. Then we have the last cards. I hope this can finish our comments. Cyprus, please, you have the floor now.
Thank you, Chair. I will make my statement very short since I'm the last one, not to take more of your time. Thank you for giving me the floor, and we would like to thank also all the submitters of documents under this agenda item. And Norway is the coordinator of the correspondence group for all the work done. As others have previously expressed, Chair, it is evident that there is more work to be done and many aspects to be taken into consideration as raised into all documents submitted, such as the issues related to existing and new ship systems. In this regard, this delegation supports the establishment of the correspondence group to consider all documents submitted, and also we support the extension of the completion year to 2023. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Cyprus. Now we can continue with the the conclusion, the summation, what we have seen here through the comments. Firstly, I'd like to advise that the decision relating to impact of the COVID-19 pandemic should not be addressed by the subcommittee, and instead should be left to the committee. I propose that the subcommittee agree to reestablish the correspondence group on amendments to MAPOL Annex 4 and associated guidelines under the coordination of Norway with the terms of reference set out in document PPR-8/J/4. If you agree with the terms of reference that we have in the document /4, I think we can then continue. I think no cards, then I thank you for agreeing. Maybe we can add something in the discussion that was commented besides what we have in the terms of reference also. I will now move to the consideration of documents PPR-8/7/7 and the PPR-8/7/11.
Chair, excuse me, we do have a card from Argentina.
Okay, yes, okay. Argentina, please, you have the floor now.
Apologies, Mr. Chair. It was a mistake. So my apologies for that.
No problem at all. I've done many mistakes also. It is difficult to work with so many computers here. But I would like to come back to these two documents, PPR-8/7/7 and /7/11. In my view, the proposal in document PPR, these documents, 7/7/11, are not within the scope of the current output, which is limited to the development of provisions for record keeping and the measures to confirm the lifetime performance of sewage treatment plants. I advise that in accordance with the committee's method of work, the subcommittee cannot expand the scope of an output unless directed or authorized to do so by its parent organ, MEPC. I advise also that interested members, government and international organizations consider submitting proposal to MEPC to expand the scope of the output if you wish to pursue the